Have you ever had that feeling where you're doing everything right? You're checking all the boxes, but something still feels, well, wrong. So today, we're going to dive into a framework called the Energy Blueprint, which is designed to tackle that exact feeling. And man, this question hits close to home for so many of us, right? You've worked hard, you've climbed the ladder of success, you've achieved so much, but there's this quiet, nagging feeling in the background that something fundamental is missing from the picture. The source material we're looking at today actually has a name for this: misalignment, and it shows up in a few key ways. This isn't about failure, it's the opposite. It's about a success that feels kind of hollow. It's when you make smart, logical decisions, but your gut is screaming no. It's that feeling of being stuck on a hamster wheel of productivity, always busy, but never really at peace. And maybe you've tried all the usual things, like therapy or self-help books, but that feeling of disconnection just won't go away. And all of this leads to what the source calls the success paradox. It's this really strange and frustrating place to be, where everything on the outside, your career, your life, looks great on paper, but your inner world just feels completely out of sync. So, what's really going on here? Well, this is where things get really interesting. According to this framework, the problem isn't just in your head. It's not something you can just think your way out of. The source makes a pretty bold claim. The challenge isn't mental, it's energetic. We're talking about the underlying flow of your personal energy, your intuition, your gut feelings. And that idea is the key to everything else we're about to talk about. Okay, so if the problem is energetic, then what's the solution? Let's dig into the framework this source proposes for actually decoding that personal energy blueprint and finding some clarity. So what exactly is this blueprint reading? The source describes it as a live, one-on-one session. It's called five-dimensional because, and we'll get to this in a sec, it looks at you through 5 different lenses all at the same time. The whole point is to create a personalized map of your energy, to find exactly where those points of misalignment are. Now, this whole approach is built on 3 main pillars. It's not just one thing. It claims to blend the logic of practical psychology with what the source calls spiritual science, which is really about systems for understanding universal patterns. And then it adds in personal, intuitive guidance. The thinking is that when you combine these 3, you get a much more complete, holistic picture of who you are. But how does this energy mapping actually happen? What are they doing? Let's get into the tools of the trade. The very first step is what the source calls the 5 dimensions of diagnosis. And here they are. The process uses 5 different modalities all at once: tarot, face reading, palm reading, pendulum dowsing, and numerology. Now, the core idea here is pretty cool. It's that by looking at your situation through these 5 unique lenses at the same time, a practitioner can pinpoint the root causes of those energy blocks with way more precision than they could with just one tool. Okay, so once the diagnosis is made, using those 5 tools, what happens next? It's not just about finding the problem, right? The framework then moves into a structured 3-stage process it calls realignment, and it's designed to take you from just knowing the problem to actually doing something about it. And here's the entire system laid right out. It starts with stage 1, diagnose your energy. That's what we just covered, using those 5 modalities to find the blocks. From there, you move to stage 2, realign your mind, which is all about a quick mental and emotional reset. And then finally, stage 3, activate your soul, is where you connect that new alignment back to your deeper sense of purpose and intuition. So you might be wondering, what's the real difference between stages 2 and 3? Well, realign your mind uses some really concrete techniques, like neurolinguistic programming, which is basically a method for changing thought patterns, plus mindfulness and breathwork. The goal here is an immediate shift. In contrast, activate your soul is more about the big picture. It's a guided process focused on creating a long-term, personalized roadmap for your life. This all sounds pretty interesting in theory, but let's get down to brass tacks. What does it actually do? How does this alignment supposedly show up in your real day-to-day life? Well, this table breaks it down into 4 key areas. When it comes to your health, we're talking about things like less stress, better sleep, and just more energy. With wealth, it's about making clearer financial decisions and letting go of that scarcity mindset. In your career, the claim is better focus and more confident choices. And in your relationships, it leads to clearer communication and setting better boundaries. You see the theme, right? It's all about translating that inner shift into tangible, real-world results. And to put a human face on this, here's a quote from a testimonial in the source. "I finally understood my internal conflict, and the fog lifted. I stopped overthinking.
And that right there really captures the whole point. That shift from a state of constant mental noise and confusion to one of inner clarity and trust.
Ultimately, if you strip away all the stages and all the different tools, the entire philosophy boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. When your inner world aligns, everything outside shifts. Because the core belief here is that your external reality is simply a reflection of your internal energetic state. And so we're left with this final thought from the source material. It suggests that your own energy, your own intuition, has been whispering to you all along. So the only question left is, what is it telling you?